Hello, thank you for joining me. I'll be sharing on building relationships, looking at my experience from just concluding 3 months of fieldwork for data collection on my doctoral research. The context, therefore, needs to be established on two levels. The first being the larger ongoing research that constitutes my doctoral program, and the second being this presentation right here. The doctoral program is titled The Morphosyntax of Mada, an endangered Niger Congo language of north-central Nigeria. Now, Mada is spoken in north-central Nigeria, precisely in Nasarawa State, which shares border with Abuja, Nigeria's capital. We also have isolated clusters of Mada people in Kaduna State and Abuja, Nigeria's capital. The map shows this. The areas shaded in orange show when Mada is spoken. And then you have three different maps there. One showing the map of Nigeria, that's A. B is zooming in on the region where Mada is spoken. And then C, zooming in on the communities where Mada is spoken. Mada, of course, from the title of my research, is a Niger Congo language. And we can see how the chart shows further within the subgroupings where Mada falls under. It's a Benue Congo Plateau language, Plateau Western, Southwestern A group, within the language tree. And then you see the other languages that Mada is grouped with. Population of Mada speakers is at least 100,000, but that's based on the 1991 census. This should have at least tripled by now, based on Nigeria's population growth index. There are several dialects in Mada. Some believe it's at least 15, and all of them have a high degree of mutual intelligibility. This research is based on the Buhari dialect or Keja dialect spoken in the eastern part of Akwanga, where Mada people are. The endangerment status of Mada was a major motivation for undertaking this doctoral research. There is a limited documentation on Mada, and then there are limited domains of language use of Mada, linguistic exogamy, the dominance of Hausa and English in the region, and then putting all these together, the ethnologue expanded graded intergenerational disruption scale EGIDS places Mada under number 5 out of 13 levels in terms of measuring its endangerment, 13 being a safe zone and 0 being an unsafe zone. UNESCO also places Mada under the endangered and unsafe category as well. The documentation of Mada is limited, as said earlier, but then there's something that has been done on the phonology and orthography. There's a dictionary, a New Testament Bible, but then grammatical studies are limited. We have something on the noun phrase. I looked at that as well as another researcher looking at the noun phrase structure from different angles. And then we also have something in terms of interrogative clauses, which I was involved in investigating. The objective of the main study is to provide a comprehensive grammatical description of Mada so that we can have primers for language teaching and learning to be produced from it. This would be done and is done by a spoken corpus, constructing a spoken corpus of 100,000 words, beg your pardon. And this would be, or this has been, through recording 20-minute spontaneous private and public dialogues and monologues from approximately 40 speakers. The analysis would be a descriptive typological approach. And then, of course, research of this nature entailed applying and being granted ethical approval for the research to go ahead, and so this was sought from the relevant authorities. This paper therefore watches and extrapolates or takes a cue from the 3-month 3 months of linguistic fieldwork and interacting with the language community, dealing with different aspects of the ethics and applying them while interacting with research participants using the approach that was chosen and will be explained later. So the main thrust is to explore the nexus between the language community, the researcher or investigator, and research ethics as critical variables of data collection processes in linguistic fieldwork, and also to demonstrate how interactions among these three variables can affect research outcomes from a language documentation perspective. Looking at the literature, there's always the question of, in terms of linguistic fieldwork, where is the field? Is it in situ or is it probably an anthropological approach? In situ in the sense that the researcher just sits wherever he or she is, and once there's proximity to a language or a native speaker of a language, can just obtain data from there. Or the anthropological approach, where one immerses himself in the language community to experience the language in various forms and to see how the language is used, from which observation and active interaction with native speakers, data can be obtained or elicited. There's also the debate as to who is doing what and for whom. The linguist-focused model of research versus the community-based language research. So the linguist-focused research, of course, in the literature deals with a linguist producing something for just the academic or the linguist community, for the sense of for the case of just doing academics, or the community-based, where the project is centered around the community is involved, the researcher is also involved, and so the project becomes a point of convergence for all of them. So this research I have been undertaking in the last 3 months, I employed an anthropological approach and a community-based approach. So the community-based approach, you see the project ahead, and then it's a collaboration between the researcher and the community. In the community-based approach, there's the convergence of relationships. The linguistic community, or the language community rather, constitutes the research population from which the sample size evolves, will come out. And then the project is a language documentation project for development and to mitigate against language endangerment. And then the field worker plays a strategic role beyond providing expertise and perhaps direction to the documentation efforts, but also ensure that the interest of the community and the rights are protected as well. It's also important in terms of the relationships to look at how does the language community view the researcher, and how does the researcher also view himself. Is he an insider or an outsider? Whatever the case is, as long as the researcher adds value to the research, the community will always appreciate that. So whether you're linked by as an insider, probably by virtue of being part of the language group, by heritage or ethnicity, or not, but you bring in some kind of value in terms of research competence and all that, this is very much appreciated. But the CBLR model just shows the interconnectedness of the language community, the project, and the field worker. There's also the issue of the research ethics and utility. Research ethics in terms of its utility and constraints. We know the importance of research ethics, and it cannot be overemphasized that research needs to be regulated sometimes, especially when you are involving human participants. Their rights need to be protected, the integrity of the process needs to be ensured, and just for quality assurance purposes as well. And so global best practices ensure that constituted bodies ensure that this is done. There's also the issue of contextualizing social and scholarly variables. there are ethical guidelines that create constraints sometimes in terms of what applies in one place may differ in another place, and how the different communities look at different things. Research ethics need to be a bit flexible to accommodate that, but sometimes that is not the case, and that's where the constraints come in. There are contextual realities that need to be taken into consideration. Some of these are going to be discussed later in my presentation. But then this is an always evolving issue in terms of research ethics and how it should be applied. Now, the themes of this presentation, which is where my main points are, are being explored now. First of all, this was a community-based language research, or CBLR, as we established earlier. There's a language documentation project. Stakeholders were also involved. Some of the stakeholders included the paramount chief of the Mada people, the Mada Development Association literacy arm, clan chiefs, community chiefs, and then key stakeholders in communities were also approached. And so putting this thing together, and then as a researcher provided direction and expertise. It was a collaborative exercise during these 3 months of fieldwork. Now, there was also dealing with the realities of applying ethics and on the field the realities that somehow became a point of conflict, especially in the area of personal data protection. Pseudonymization and anonymization was frowned at in terms of research ethics. Many people felt that anonymizing their name or pseudonymization of their names amounted to denying them the right to the credit for being part of a research that had posterity in view, and it became a point that affected enthusiasm at a point, and a compensation for time. Some participants felt it was community service and they didn't need to be paid, while some felt they needed to be paid more. Whatever the case was, this required openness, patience, and firmness on the part of the researcher to explain the criteria used to arrive at any form of remuneration and the need for it to be done. There was also the issue of contextualizing research ethics. Now, many of research ethics that have been designed need to be designed and crafted with inclusion and diversity, knowing that cultures and values and perspectives differ, especially on continental levels, and especially on the issue of privacy and personal data protection as contained in many ethical guidelines. Some may not resonate in many cultures, thereby presenting execution challenges. There was also the issue of navigating social variables, norms, values, and cultural practices. So using the anthropological and CBLR models, and as well as an insider a researcher, there was the challenges in understanding gender roles and timings for meeting participants. There was also the issue of constraints in opposite sex interactions. As a male researcher interacting with female participants on some level was a challenge, and constituting a mixed group or focus group participants became a challenge. The issue of building healthy relationships, which is the major thrust of this presentation, came to the fore. Application of ethical considerations met resistance sometimes, and it required social intelligence and diplomacy to navigate. It was very important to listen to and affirm participants when they voiced concerns. This was one way of building healthy relationships. Small chats helped to relax participants before, during, and after any recording session. And then there was also the need to understand that building healthy relationships was and should have been the basis for applying any research ethics. Creating an atmosphere where participants feel safe to participate and know that the researcher is genuinely interested in their well-being beyond the project was also very important. Social skills that stretched beyond academic competencies were needed, such as active listening, empathy, emotional intelligence, and clear communication. The essence was not necessarily to make friends, but to help participants know that and feel that they matter, and their cooperation, was very important in ensuring the success of the project. In conclusion, research at best is transformative for all parties involved And building relationships is not necessarily making friends out of participants, but creating an enabling environment for participants to key into the project and to sustain enthusiasm through the process. For this to happen, the researcher will be stretched beyond research and academic competencies or capabilities to social skills, active listening, empathy, and clear communication. Thank you very much for your time, and I believe we'll have more time to interact on some of these issues. Thank you very much.